And just as suspected, there's the larvae. It's the middle of winter, so why do I have plants growing in my basement? Well, dahlia cuttings are how you can get literally thousands of dollars of free dahlias, but it's not always smooth sailing. So I'm actually having some issues with these, and I just wanted to show you and run through how I'm trying to fix them in case you run into these problems. Depending how good your eyes are, you might have caught the first problem already. As you can see, that little thing there, I am dealing with a serious fungus gnat infestation. There's another one right there on that leaf, and there's another one hiding down in that crevice there, and they're just basically everywhere. As far as a cutting bed like this, they're kind of just a nuisance, but when you actually start taking your cuttings, that's when they can be a problem. So the fungus gnats lay eggs in your soil. They like moist, warm soil. Then when those eggs hatch, the larvae like to feed on a plant source. So when you're taking cuttings, I've actually seen the larva on the stub of the cutting when I plant it in the soil. And when that happens, these pretty much just rot and are junk. So how do you get fungus gnats in the first place? Well, the problem is with the store-bought potting soil. Even if it says sterilized, you just can't always trust it. So there's bug eggs in these soils, especially the organic ones, because they're treated less, so you just get more natural bugs and such. So the first mistake you can do is overwater, because they like it moist. I happen to accidentally overwater this. I'm not too concerned because these tubers are already rooted, but usually when you're taking cuttings, you really just want the bed slightly moist. So that was my first mistake. You can literally just see the fungus gnats everywhere anytime you disrupt the soil. So for the adult gnats, I've been using these sticky traps, and as you can see, they are pretty effective, but it's almost like just barely holding a candle to it because there's just so many of them. Even though I'm catching a bunch, the life cycle just keeps continuing. These are cheap enough that it's worth buying them just to catch the adults and kind of stop the life cycle. And then you may have also noticed some of this white stuff on top of the soil here. So that is diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth kills the adults. It's known for killing a lot of different insects just because it damages their exoskeleton and they basically dehydrate and die. But the problem with diatomaceous earth is it's only effective when it's wet. So just the moisture in the potting soil has been too wet and it's kind of defeating the purpose. I sprinkle it on once in a while, but it's not super effective because, like I said, it has to be dry. So now I've also been putting mosquito dunks in my water before I water these. So the way that these work is it's a bacteria that kills mosquito larvae. And many people have used this successfully when treating their houseplants for fungus gnats. So basically you just split these into 4 and you drop them in your water bucket, and then the bacteria disperses through the water, and then you water your cutting bed with it. But I've been doing this treatment for a couple weeks now, and honestly, I'm not seeing any improvement. So what I'm gonna do now is order a commercial grade larvicide. So there's a product called Gnat Troll, and seeing how the mosquito dunks didn't work, that's gonna have to be my next option. I'm not too concerned yet because I mostly just did this cutting bed because I needed some photos and videos, but I'm trying to get a hold on this before I really start ramping up my cuttings. So I noticed that this particular tuber has really been stagnating and not really doing anything. I want to check because I have a feeling it's rotted, and if it's rotting, that could mean that it's a source of food for the fungus gnats. So I want to get it out of here. Let's take a look and see what we got here. Yep, so as I suspected, it's definitely rotted, and I guarantee you there's fungus gnats under there. I'm sure you just saw those fungus gnats fly off. And just as suspected, there's the larvae that we talked about. And this is what a rotted tuber looks like. It's just straight mush. So there's no sense in saving this. I'm just gonna throw it out. So now while I'm at it, I'm just gonna check the rest of these. And so far, so good. To tell you the truth, before I start doing any of my rare cuttings, I'm just gonna get rid of this whole tray just because I don't wanna risk it and I don't trust it. So most of these varieties here are just some extras we had, mostly just for taking pictures and videos and demonstration, and I don't wanna risk infesting any of our expensive stock with these fungus gnats. So if you find yourself in this situation and you're losing the battle, sometimes it might just be better to give in and throw away some stuff. Because now that I have this infested tray, if I start putting $40, $50 tubers right next to this, they could just hop over and start infesting that section. and that would be a big loss. Another good tip moving forward is you can either A, sterilize your soil with heat, just look it up if you're curious on how to do that. And you can also pre-treat your soil with the Natrol before you even use it. So you can put your potting soil in 5-gallon buckets and start watering it a couple weeks at a time. And hopefully doing that, the bacteria will take hold and kill any fungus gnat larvae that you're dealing with. So as you can see, these tubers are all at totally different stages. So why would that happen? Well, there's a bunch of reasons. Some tubers are just a pain in the butt, while others are superstars. Some varieties take different amounts of time to wake up, but you know what's crazy? So these tubers here, these are actually 2-year-old tubers that we had stored, and they were shriveled up and dried out. And look, they're doing just fine. We put all of this effort and obsession into having perfect tubers in storage, but tubers that are shriveled to some extent will still be fine. Also, if your tubers are really slow to sprout, you could just have the temperature wrong. So here in my basement, it's pretty cold, so I keep my heat mat thermostat at about 74 degrees. I've noticed that if I drop below 70, these things grow really slow because the air temp is low. But with having the heat mats, a humidity dome, and the controller set in the 70s, it really speeds them up. Also, if you have some sprouts that just stagnate and seem to get stuck like this, you can just cut these off, and sometimes it'll promote new growth all around it and it'll speed it up. And then sometimes they're just a dud. This one has literally been in here for a month with the same conditions as all these, and it hasn't done anything. Another thing you can try if you have some tubers like this that are refusing to wake up is put them in a dark area in a plastic bag full of soil. Some tubers are just fussy, and keeping them in a dark, warm area will cause them to start growing and rooting. And here's something else we're pretty excited about. These are seedlings that we have starting. So this is gonna be our first year getting into breeding dahlias, and we're really excited about that. And we're gonna be taking you guys along the journey and showing you the whole process that we go through, from planting to planting them out in the field to culling them and selecting which ones we're gonna keep and grow out. So I noticed this one's struggling. So I'm gonna see if I can just give it a little help and pull that seed shell off. Oh, and there we go. You can see some of these are already getting their second set of leaves. That's exciting. And it's kind of early here, so I'm gonna wait till these are rooted in these small cells, and then we're gonna be potting them up into bigger pots. And soon I'm gonna be posting a really in-depth video on how to take dahlia cuttings. It's gonna teach you basically everything you need to know to take dahlia cuttings. So keep on the lookout for that.